Well, it was a fun drive from Louisville today against the grain. I spent the morning in Louisville, Kentucky, with my soon to graduate from U of L youngest son today. So we're going to be missing that, so I can be here with you guys to tell you the story. Gorgeous day though, and he'll be doing it again in about 3 years. So he got another scholarship. So we'll just consider that practice. Everybody hear me okay? All right. Well, it was, I'm going to take you back a little bit to the 1970s. Day very, very much like today. Gorgeous. I think it was a little later in the season because I think it'd been either fishing or swimming or the combination of the same thing, where you do that when you're like, I want to say it was probably 8 to 10 years of age. And got home, and there was this big fancy car in our driveway. And I live in a trailer park, so apparently, nice new Cadillacs stick out in a trailer park. And I grew up in Bloomington, by the way, to give you an idea. So take that little quick trip that you could go down 69 now, used to take about an hour on a 2-lane highway. So pull in there, kind of wonder what's going on. It's not something that we would typically see. And to give you a little history here, my mother had spent a lot of time in what I would say these days would be radical Christian churches. And forgive me if you happen to be a Pentecostal, because that's what I think it is. But much of my childhood and most of my adolescence up until I turned 17 and joined the Marine Corps were spent 3 to 4 nights a week in churches much like this one right here. Get a little chilly. The Spirit's coming over me. And so very, very familiar with that kind of environment. And this gentleman had come to see us, was one of those pastors, and apparently had a revival or something that was coming through. And it was there really to see my parents. I remember the man. It was always fun going to his churches. We had a great time, very diverse community, or diverse congregation. A little bit different than the Pentecostal churches I was used to in a bit more southern portions of Indiana. And they made an offer to my dad, which they discussed and went back and forth over for a couple of weeks. And it was a lot of tension for my mom and my father about that, because it was quite a substantial offer compared to the income that he was making at Indiana University. And, at the time, you're just a young kid and just playing, having all the good times going outside. It really didn't dawn on you until you get a little bit older of what that really kind of meant to your family long term, and the financial security and things that were built into that. Short story, father didn't take the job. He couldn't really get his upbringing to coalesce with the diversity of that congregation and where they were going to be, and then to move. He had born and raised in Monroe County, been part of that community for a long time, so change is very difficult. For those of us who've never left Indiana, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So fast forward about 20 years or so, I'm in the Marine Corps. I'm married, I've got kids, and I'm coming home, and it's not really important to the day or the time, but there's a special on. And it's they're talking about religion and things like that. And right about that time, there's this voice that I instantly recognize. And they're playing this tape. This gentleman talking to his congregation and encouraging the mothers to inject their children or get them to drink the drink. They're going to a better place. And at that moment, I was chilled. It was like a gut punch. And it just a mix of horror and awe, because I realized who that person was and how close that my family and my brother had come to what would have been a horrific demise. That the stark realization of that took me probably another 10 years to pull together. And when my mother finally passed away, my brother and I were going through a lot of her things, and we would find leaflets from this organization from here in Indianapolis that were just a constant, a refresh of that over and over. And that is my story. That man was named Jim Jones.